Hello, this is Paulette Perhatch explaining how I organize my entire writing life in the Writer's Mission Control Center. So here we have my dashboard where I can see a little bit of what's going on in my writing life. I have been using some version of the Writer's Mission Control Center since 2015. So what started out as my own personal spreadsheet, I nerdily developed into what is now a web app, and certainly have help with the development at this point. So you can see that I have 287 story ideas, 14 drafts going, 58 submissions out now, 16 submissions this year, and 3 pieces that are ready to submit. Here I have a little tracker of all the submissions I've sent so I can make sure that I'm getting my work out there in the world. Then we have this fun red mountain of rejections, and acceptances. On the left side here, you will see that I have 3 sections that to me describe what make up my writing life. So there's being a writer, and that's kind of my internal writing life. This has nothing to do almost with anyone else. It's just between me and myself. So here we have my writer profile, and this is the part of the software that will really organize the rest of the software. So basic things here, and then this is where I keep my biography. And here's where I discuss what forms I write in. So I check any that I might do. What this does is that later when I go into my creative works and I check what form an idea or a piece is, I will just see these on the list. I won't see every kind of poetry. And if there's ones that aren't on the list, you can add it to custom forms and you'll see that drop down. You can also have what kind of projects you do for the same reason, and what themes you write about. This will help you figure out what stories might pair with certain opportunities that come your way. Let's say that you got a call to submit and people are like, we're looking for food related stories. And let me see which of my ideas have to do with food. And you save your profile, and then it really helps create a customized experience in the rest of the Writer's Mission Control Center. Here is really where the meat of the Writer's Mission Control Center is, and that is in my creative works. So this is where you can see all of your work. I have 640 entries here, everything from published pieces to just sparks of an idea. So let's say I have a new idea, I can add a new creative work, and then you can put in the working title. This is basically something that will stay the same throughout the life of a piece. So it might be like the Pitbull story or the mom poem, things like that. The stage is going to be an idea. The first draft is complete. Anything down to ready to submit, something you're writing a pitch for, an assignment, or a published piece. So here's where you can keep track of all your clips. And then here is where that form that we checked in the writer profile will come into play. So, okay, this is going to be a free verse piece, something like that. And then here are your themes, and these are the ones that I filled out, that I write about. You can select up to 3. Once you're done, you might have a final title, any notes on it, and any of these fields that you see that have this little symbol you can expand. So if you want to take a bunch of notes on a piece, you can put it in there. When you completed the first draft, your word count, and then once you hit publication, where it's published, when it was published, and a link to the publication so you can keep track of that. So then let's go over to the next level, which is getting published. So this is really getting your work out in the world. And here is where you'll keep your list of publications that you want to be published in or that you're reading. And there's a lot to track around publications. And with any of these records, you don't really have to show or write every single thing about it. And here we help you keep track of like the types of publications that you might work for. Let's say, okay, show me all the literary magazines that I have here. And then you can filter by that, or show me all the consumer magazines. And when you add a new publication, let's say you hear about a publication you want to check out, or you want to be published there, you can just do the title. The contact for submissions pulls from your contacts that you have. If there's a certain section you want to send it to, and then what type it is, you can select here. Any notes, again, this is expandable. You might want to say, Susan recommended this, or I met them at AWP, they seemed awesome. Any notes about the readership, especially for consumer magazines, you want to note that. And then here's something that we have that's kind of special in the Writers Mission Control Center, is that for any opportunity or publication, we have an appeal level. So this is just how excited am I about this, right? And we have high, medium, low. That is because you're always kind of working in these tiers. And when you first start out, you don't usually get to go straight to the New Yorker or straight to, NPR. You have to start with places that might not be super dazzling to you, but then you get to move up. And when you pitch something, you might want to start high and say, okay, I'm gonna go top tier. And if it gets rejected, then I might go down to medium. And if it still gets rejected, then I might go down to low. But we just kind of help you rate things based on their appeal. If this has a reading period, you can do the start and end. Do this accept simultaneous submissions, multiple submissions previously published, and then there's just more information about payment. And the pay level here, you can do low, medium, high as well. And that will really help us track this in a matrix that I'll show you in a little bit. You can also add the themes that they write about. Let's say that it is a feminist magazine. So I might write feminism here. And then one thing I love here is that we turn the requirements into a checklist. So when a publication usually publishes their, here's what we want to see, it's in this big long paragraph. So what you can do is cut and paste their requirements here to just see it as a checklist. Then we have the submission log. Once you are sending things out into the world, you will have a log of your submissions, and you can show them by the outcome. And when you add a new submission, you just click that here, and what you sent, this will pull from your list of stories. The publication will pull from your list of publications. The contact will pull from your contacts. When you sent it, when you followed up, and then what the outcome was. And here you can say if you were encouraged to send more work, because that's really important information, and then any notes on the response. The submission factory works on the idea of data merge. And this is saying, please help me make sure I get the right name and the right person on this submission. And what you do is you basically choose a story, choose a publication, set your parameters here, and then generate a submission letter. And it's not going to give you a perfect submission letter, but it gets you started, gets you the right name, and is really good at getting stories out quickly. Then we go to your writing career, and this is kind of the outermost level of, I really want to make money at this, I want to be working. And so your opportunities here might be even in teaching, or might be in public speaking, other things that are part of a writing career sometimes. And here you can see what was the original date, if there's any deadline. We talk about just the gist. What's the gist of this writing opportunity? Is there an associated publication? What's the status? And if there are any themes associated. So when we have an opportunity, and an opportunity can be anything from, I met an editor at AWP and she told me to submit some stories, to something like a call to pitch or a call to submit. So we have those in here as well. So for example, I get Sonia Weisner's opportunities of the week, and any of those that pertain to me, I put in here. And then I have the original date so I can see when they get a little bit old. You can add themes, and then you can add the pay level and the appeal. So this is really important, because then we have an opportunities matrix. And what this does is helps you see your opportunities in terms of the most important. So we start with the highest appeal. These are the ones I'm most excited about. And down here, we also have the high pay, medium pay, low pay. So when you are down here in low appeal, it's not very exciting. And sorry, I have to blur out some of these because they're very secret, top secret. And when you sit down to say, hey, I'm going to work on my writing career, I'm going to try to make some things happen, you want to start with the highest appeal, highest pay area, and then move down to lower pay, lower appeal. Then we have the pitch writer. I love this pitch writer. Why? Because I hate writing pitches. And what this does is it turns it into a form. These are all the things you need to include on a pitch, and you can expand these if you need more space, but it's basically, what is it about? Why is it unique? Why is it timely? You don't have to have everyone, like for example, not every story is going to be timely, but each of these is kind of like a point that is going to be a good sales asset to you as you are selling your story. So you basically pick your story and then pick a pitch to go along with it. So I'll show you some of my pitches. Let's see, we have the ADHD tax, and let's edit that one. So I can see what my pitch is here. And the important thing is that I sometimes will just send a pitch and then forget about it. So now I have everything I need here for a pitch that I can copy and paste into another pitch for another editor. And I save the most important part here, which is all the information that I have. And the rest is fairly explanatory. We have companies and organizations, any companies you might be affiliated with, anything from Tin House for their retreat to a university you want to go to an MFA for. We have my contacts, which is fairly self-explanatory, and then my projects. So projects are anything that's outside of your creative work that has a deadline that you want to make happen. So this might be a client blog. This was a client blog that I have, a speaking engagement that I'm going to do, things like that. Anything that is client work and not your creative work. And then you have your clients, and I love this section. So you can talk about what your client preferences are. I think there are so many things that, for example, if you write for a publication and then you don't write for them for a long time, you can be like, oh God, what was their invoicing process? Well, you will know if you fill out the My Client section, because you will have the email for invoicing, invoice upon, and instruction for invoices here. You can save that information here and have it for when you need it. You can also have their style guide information. Do they use AP style, Chicago Manual style, an internal one, or other? How do they handle the Oxford comma? How do they describe their voice and tone? What do they do for subheading, sentence case or title case, right? These little things that make it really easy for you to go back and do the best job for them possible. And then any other information on what they do, their naming convention, feedback notes, how they store files, things like that. And this is pretty much where my entire writing life lives. This takes care of my creative work, my internal, the satire that I want to write, my book, my essays, as well as client work. Everything that I do is here, and I work in this every single day. It's how I know what I need to do today and what is next on my plate. We have a great blog from our developer under What's New. And then if you have any feedback, you can do send feedback. We are certainly in the early stages of making this a reality, and I have so many big dreams for the dashboard and making this all customizable for the questions you have for your writing life. We are just getting started, and I'm really excited to see what we can help you do with your writing life with the Writers Mission Control Center.